As we turn over to our next story, the president of Venezuela's National Assembly, Jorge Rodríguez, has announced that the first debate on the General Amnesty Bill promised by interim President Delcy Rodríguez will take place very soon. Rodríguez explained that the amnesty law, which was initiated by President Delcy Rodríguez, will be presented to the National Assembly for its first discussion after further evaluation of its scope. According to Rodríguez, the law is designed to provide mechanisms for people to regain their freedom, provided they fall within the law's scope. Let's listen into what Jorge Rodríguez had to say.
La ley de amnistía es una iniciativa de la Presidenta de la República, así lo planteó en el inicio del año judicial. Saliendo de aquí, voy a una reunión donde vamos a evaluar los alcances de esa iniciativa para saber cuándo vamos a llevar a la Asamblea Nacional para que dé la primera discusión esa ley. Será muy pronto. La presidenta encargada, Delcy Rodríguez, propone una ley de amnistía que lo que hace es establecer los mecanismos a través de las personas puedan recuperar la libertad siempre y cuando estén dentro de los sujetos establecidos en esa ley.
Opposition member Alberto Galíndez weighed in, stating that this process will eventually lead to an election, but only after stability and economic recovery in Venezuela have been achieved. Galíndez also reflected on the political failure in Venezuela, calling the current situation a terrible image that will stay with the country for a very long time. Meanwhile, students and workers are gathering in front of the University of Carabobo in Venezuela to call for the acceleration of the General Amnesty Law that would lead to the release of all political prisoners currently held in Venezuela. Professor Gunaratne joins us once again. Of course, this comes after the capture of Nicolas Maduro, with some people saying that the interim government, the interim leader is pushing forward these laws in order to appease the Trump administration. Is Donald Trump in effect approving these laws? And is Donald Trump, do you think, will he be satisfied in the coming future?
Certainly he will be. Let me give you a little bit of background for your audience. That is, Maduro's mentor was Hugo Chavez, and he imprisoned a lot of people during the Bolivian revolution, his enemies. And today we have seen a shift in that mindset, especially after US intervention and after Maduro is gone. So the Americans themselves are very keen that those prisoners are released so that there will be harmony and stability in Venezuela. Right now the shift is towards being leftist, but after the release of those prisoners, they will have a more stable country. Because one of Trump's challenges was that China and Russia, Iran, Lebanese Hezbollah, the Colombian groups, FARC, ELN, they were all operating in Venezuela. But when the political ideology changes in Venezuela, Venezuela will become less of a security threat to the United States and to President Trump.
Do stay with us, Professor Gunaratne, once again as we move on to a related development. And the Venezuelan interim president, Delcy Rodríguez, has held high-level meetings with oil executives from Spain's Repsol and France's Morel and Prom in Caracas, about a month after the United States removed Nicolas Maduro from power. PDVSA, a state-owned oil company, said that Rodríguez met with Repsol to discuss strengthening Venezuela's energy sovereignty and win-win cooperation amid sanctions and market turmoil. She also met with Morel and Prom leaders to consolidate strategic alliances to boost the country's energy production capacity. The meetings come as Venezuela moves to open its oil sector to foreign engagement and reform energy laws to revive production after years of decline and sanctions. Analysts say the outcomes of these talks could have broader implications for the country's economic recovery and its position in global energy markets. Professor Gunaratne, previously, Donald Trump gathered all US oil executives in the White House, some leading CEOs, particularly from the likes of Exxon in the US. They called Venezuela uninvestable. Is Delcy Rodríguez putting the correct measures in to prove that statement wrong?
Definitely, we have seen that the interim president and also the opposition, they are very keen for all the sanctions to be lifted so that Venezuela can become an international player. It's a very resource-rich country. I am very confident that ExxonMobil and other American, European, and other firms will invest in Venezuela. Venezuela will not only be a playing ground for countries that the Americans have classified as inimical. That way, Venezuela has a very good chance of recovery and becoming a stable and economically viable nation in the coming months and coming years.
And of course, there was huge skepticism coming out of the international community when Donald Trump first captured Nicolas Maduro. He then said that the United States was going to run Venezuela. However, do you think the government is taking the right action to please the Americans? Do you think that Delcy Rodríguez and their government are satisfying Donald Trump in cooperating with these oil companies, not just from the United States, but also from the likes of Europe as well?
The new administrators and the existing administrators and the opposition in Venezuela, they're working together because they want to make sure that Trump is their friend, because they have seen the consequences of an angry Trump surgically extracting the elected president. So I believe that this is the time for Venezuela for those sanctions to be removed so that Venezuela will be able to work with both the East and the West and will be a friend of the United States. Trump, in many ways, revived what you call the Monroe Doctrine. That is, countries neighboring the United States should not do anything to harm or hurt the United States. Trump perceived Maduro as an enemy, as an opponent, as an adversary. Today, he doesn't think so. Today, he has extended the hand of friendship. He has got the Americans to go and invest and do business. Not only that, today the Europeans are moving in a very significant way to work with Venezuela.
Professor Rohan Gunaratne, thank you so much for joining us. As always, it is a great pleasure. Indigenous people and politicians in New Zealand have come together to celebrate Waitangi Day, marking 186 years since the signing of the country's founding document in 1840. The Treaty of Waitangi was signed between Maori chiefs and representatives of British rule. This year, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon vowed to deliver improved outcomes for the Indigenous community, stressing that Maoris want the same as non-Maoris in terms of health, education,